Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment of Tom's World. In today's video, we're celebrating the fact that my channel has reached 300 subscribers. So we're in a new location, and let's check it out. So, as I said, we're here in a new location celebrating the fact that my channel has finally reached 300 subscribers. Actually 307 at the time I filmed this. So let's check out this new location. We are at historic Washington Crossing Park. So let's take a look. So starting off here at the Visitor Center, we're greeted by this tall pillar with a statue of George Washington at the top of it, commemorating the area where he crossed the Delaware River. Let's check out the stone around here to give us a little information. Stone says, near this spot, Washington crossed the Delaware on Christmas night, 1776, the eve of the Battle of Trenton. So it was near this spot, probably closer over to the bridge. One of the many old houses on the property here in Washington Crossing Park. This one is called the Hibbs House. A little info on the Hibbs house. Nothing to do with Washington, but still. This here is the blacksmith shop. This is not the original, this is actually the third reincarnation of this shop. Apparently this whole place used to be like a tiny little village. And here's some info on the blacksmith shop. As you can tell, walking back from the blacksmith shop, starting with the Hibbs house, blacksmith shop is there. You can see how this was just like a tiny little village along the Delaware. And again, it was roughly right about there where Washington crossed the Delaware. And then he and his army made the 9-mile trek to Trenton. While that battle was not an epic battle by any means, it was the beginning of what founded the country and our freedom. Very cool. I have no idea what that little building is. Maybe we'll find out. Another building. We'll get some info on this. Okay, apparently this was the Fry House. Oh, it was the blacksmith's house. So this was his house, and then his shop was right next door. Now this one, I'm guessing, is the boathouse, as there's a boat in there. I did read something about that on the way in. And from what I read, these boats here are replicas of the same types of boats that Washington and his army used to cross the Delaware. Not only the soldiers, but their horses as well. There's just a lot of information there. I'll zoom in on it if you want. You can pause the video to try to read it all, but I'm not going to read all that off. But here is a painting depicting the crossing, that icy day on the Delaware, long before we polluted that, which actually lately doesn't look too bad. It almost looks like it got cleaned out somehow, but we'll see that when we go across the bridge, if I go across the bridge. But you can see there, same type of boats we're looking at here. I'm sure it's hard to appreciate on the video how big these boats are. They are monstrous. There's also an old cannon here. I'd imagine they took those with them as well. And here we have the back of what on the map is called McConkey's Ferry Inn. You heard that right, McConkey's Ferry Inn. I hear the name Conky and I think of Pee-wee's Playhouse. And yes, I know I'm dating myself by saying that. You have this thing here. Doesn't go down very deep. Don't know what this is. If this was used for storage or imprisoning people, I have no idea. Maybe this sign over here will tell us. McConkey's Ferry Inn. So you thought I was kidding. 18th century inn and tavern. Sounds like my kind of place. It was owned by Samuel McConkey. Army's encampment in Bucks County, December 1776. So apparently this house here was the Malin K. Taylor House. It was built circa 1817 for one of the founders of Taylorsville, the little village that we're in, now known as Washington Crossing. It shows the status and prosperity of the Taylor family in the community. So they were obviously important and rich people. Way in the back there, there's a little gazebo in the back. Don't know if we're allowed back there, so I'm not going to trek back. There's one more building this way. There's a slightly better view of the gazebo. This is as close as I'm getting though. As I said, I don't know if we're allowed down there. Very well maintained lawn though. Here's the back of the general store. We'll go around to the front and read the plaque. Well, there's the front of the general store. Taylorsville Store General Merchandise. M.K. Taylor and Sons Props. There's no plaque there, so there's nothing to read. But apparently this was the general store for the entire little village here. I think now we're going to try to go over to the New Jersey side. Walk across the Delaware. Here we go. I've never walked across a bridge that goes over the Delaware River. And since we're not up that high, this shouldn't trigger my fear of heights too much. I'm okay right now. Now, if I was crossing the bridges down in Philadelphia, that would trigger my fear of heights. Cars make a strange sound when they go across here because it's all metal grating. Wow. Alright, just about there. I have no idea what's on this side. I did see a video on this place where they did have some historic things on this side, but we'll see. I know that house over there, that's got to be something historic. And apparently New Jersey is having just as bad of a problem with the spotted lanternflies as we are in Philly. Well, while it's a cool house, doesn't seem that it's actually that old. Seems like the signage just has it going back to 1961. Something to do with the people who work on the gardens. Right next to it is this thing. I at first thought it was some kind of little decorative bridge, but my best guess, even though there's no signage letting me know, this was probably a ferry that went across. Don't know how old it is. Oh, there is a sign. It was hiding in the bushes. Let's see. Ferry site. At this site before 1748, a ferry was first owned and operated by Garrett Johnson. It was used to transport artillery from Pennsylvania to New Jersey the night Washington crossed the Delaware, December 25th, 1776. At that time, it was operated by James Slack. This ferry is a full-scale, authentic reproduction of the type seen on the Delaware River in the 18th century. So this isn't as old as that, but as old as that. But hey, it does look old. But this is the same type of ferry that they had. I guess this is what, you know, all the cannons, those old cannons that we saw, which may be replicas or they might be original, I'm not sure. They would load them onto here. And this is probably how they took the horses across as well, while the men just took the boats. And way, way over there is where I started this adventure, at the visitor center. You can just about barely make out that little stone commemorating the crossing. Upon closer examination, this building is not old at all. My best guess is this is probably the visitor center on the New Jersey side. Find out in a second. Well, I turned out to be wrong. These are the bathrooms. So, just a little history before we leave New Jersey to go back to PA. I'll leave it up there for a minute for you to read. Okay, if you want to read the whole thing, you can just hit the pause button. But I'm going to get out of here because I am sweating. And I feel strange being in New Jersey. Especially since the car is way over there, across the Delaware. And here we are, crossing the Delaware by foot again. So I'm guessing that island there is the island they were talking about on that sign back there in Jersey, where he hid the boats and the ferries so that the British wouldn't find them. That seems to be really the only island around. I mean, it's entirely possible maybe there was another one that's no longer there, but still. This bridge makes way too much noise. Not just the cars going over it, but the metal clanking as you walk by it. Oh well. Anyway, officially in PA again. And now I can start my trek back to the car. And here's a closer look at that island. The one that I suspect that they were talking about, that Washington hid the boats behind. There was probably a lot more brush there then, so they weren't able to see them. And this island was probably a lot bigger then too. It's weird, it almost forks off here a little bit, the river. But my guess is this would be that island. Back here at the Welcome Center on the PA side, they have a replica of one of the cannons. Of course, obviously much more modern. Not by design, but just by the condition. Still pretty cool though. Looking down the barrel. Well, I was hoping that was going to teleport me back to Neshaminy State Park. Let me try it again. Wow, can't believe that worked. Yeah, I know that was corny. I had to do it though. Here I am back in Sarobia, Neshaminy State Park. Had to come here to do my wrap up because there was just too many people over there in Washington crossing, so I decided to come here. So yeah, it was just getting a little too crowded over there at Washington Crossing. Plus it was getting loud. The maintenance guys were taking care of the lawn, a lot of lawn mowers and stuff going on. So I decided to come back here to do my wrap up. But not only for that reason, I also wanted to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Red House Bagels. 2 weekends ago, they stopped by and they dropped off some bagels and drinks for me and the other volunteers. I gotta say, they were the freshest bagels I've had in a very, very long time. So I highly recommend them. So I will put their information up right now so that you can check them out for yourself. So hopefully you enjoyed our trip over to Washington Crossing Park. I know I did. It's a very beautiful place. It is rich in history on both sides of the Delaware, and I only got to see a small fraction of what's there. I will be going back there at some point. I want to check it all out, but for now, that's going to have to do for today. So thank you all for the 300 subscribers. Actually, as I mentioned, I'm at 307 right now, but thank you for getting me past the 300 mark. It means a lot to me, and I love all the comments and support that you all give me. And I guess that's a wrap. So I'm going to go home, and I will see you all in the next one. Just remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.